just as they energetically harvest from concerts and large events, they've also been doing this for quite a while now on social platforms. So there is a string of TikToks floating around in where seemingly normal folk are ranting and venting about inflation, the cost of living, grocery prices, the cost of rent. I would say if you haven't seen these, you might take a quick look. One of the things that you might observe are the women. Now, I'm not saying across the board here, but I am saying what they do is they have their own. They're witches, and witches can be male as well, but they have their witches on social platforms, operating channels and doing things like TikToks, in where whatever topic is being discussed, usually there's an element of harvesting to it, meaning they seem just like ordinary folk, but there's, I guess it's more, you would have to really be picking up on things intuitively. But generally, these women have similarities. In the way they look, the way their makeup is done. Are very good actors, actresses, can really hold one's attention, and are trying to harvest. So they're talking about topics that many people can resonate with. And usually the resonating are their topics that are chosen because they elicit benevolent emotions. So things like compassion, empathy, forgiveness, caring, kindness, an energy of like you're not alone. Basically that you're resonating with them. So whatever topic they're bringing forward, most likely the people watching are either going through it or have experienced whatever it is and can understand and empathize. So what it is when you direct your compassion, your forgiveness, your kindness, your empathy towards that person, that witch, they then are harvesting what the emotions that you're directing and holding for them, and then they're doing magic with it, or I should say combining magic with it to then assist the larger group. So they're basically raping your emotions, and they're combining magic with them and using them for different purposes. So that larger group has a history of torture, rape, and murder, and satanic ritual abuse on animals and children. and adults as well. They'll take your kindness and your empathy and your compassion and your forgiveness that has been, or those watching, that has been offered while watching. They'll harvest it. They'll combine it with the magic to then try and absolve their group of atrocities and crimes against humanity. That's just one more thing that they're doing technologically. So they do it at concerts and they do it at large events, and they've also expanded that to social platforms. And if you pay attention to many of these channels and TikToks and all of these other, whatever other social platforms are that people visit to watch videos, always pay attention to the females. Always look for similarities, look for subcount, or not necessarily subcount, but if they, I guess if they have a high, like a very high, I'm talking, 50,000 usually or more. And are, I'm not saying all, I'm not doing it across the board, but what I am saying is, just pay attention to similarities with these females. How they do their makeup, how they do their hair, what they're wearing, how they know how to draw you in. And they know how to keep attention. And some of them are very good actresses and really play the part because their group is depending on them for the energy that they are trying to elicit in order to harvest. So just bear that in mind. There are male witches as well, and these TikToks have both female and male. I would say as far as channels, please, I would say take a look at the ASMR healing videos, in where the females are, it's most often females, and they're using their hands and doing gestures towards the camera to anyone watching. And they will call it, tune in for your healing session. And then those watching, how many are watching? 100, 500, 1,000. And the whole entire time, that person is combining hand movements and specific wording in combination with gesturing towards the camera to those watching. So again, I'm not saying all, but that would be one example of some of the channels that you could, if you're going to do that, visit and take a quick look. I would say do not watch the whole thing. Watch it in clips, or start it and then watch, like kind of flip through it and watch the stills. I would definitely not recommend watching one all the way through, simply because you don't know what kind of spells that they're really doing. And there are some that I've caught or that I've noticed over the years that really have a knack for drawing people in, almost in a seductive way. Usually, if that's the case, usually if there are channels in where you feel so strongly about that individual to where you have to watch every episode, every video, that you're really like hooked on them, I would say that that's a red flag, and that more often than not, there's magic involved, and obviously it's undisclosed. Okay, so let's see, the ones I mentioned at the beginning, and then the ones I just mentioned. Let's see if there's any others. They're doing this with even on other platforms. I've noticed, even on this platform, that any kind of in quotes natural disasters, or all the current happenings, in where they're really trying to do it, like you're seeing a lot of videos about the same topic, like about the fires, or about the hurricanes, or about the tornadoes, or all these supposed natural disasters. They're also doing the same thing on those. They're energetically harvesting. So the point in mentioning all those is just to be aware that they are doing, they have their own on social platforms that are doing energetic harvesting, and basically raping high vibrations and frequencies and energies, and then combining those with their magic to then try and, because the energy was directed at their people, right? Even though they're not telling you what they're really doing with the video itself, the fact that whatever topic they're discussing, they're not telling you that they're talking about those topics in order to elicit the viewers to feel those specific emotions, so they can then rape those and use those. Obviously, they're not telling you. So I would just say be careful as you visit, watch those different videos. I think it's kind of disgusting that they've taken very important topics in where, the everyday person talking about those is genuinely and authentically concerned for their fellow man, and they have empathy and compassion for those experiencing hardship, and they're taking advantage of that because they know they can get 5,000 or 10,000 people watching who are all directing their compassion and their empathy towards, if they have one of their own doing the video, and they're just not telling you what else they're doing with the video, right? So just, and also pay attention to the comments. It's interesting that sometimes you can even pick out their own in the comments by the way that they're wording things and how they're addressing the public. And even the channel names. Like, here on this platform, the ones talking about inflation, the cost of rent and the cost of groceries and all of that. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of. I'm not going to say it, but as soon as you see the name, that should be your red flag. And when you see that name, the question in your mind most likely will be, which one? Are they talking about us, or are they talking about their own? So that would be also, pay attention to the names of channels. How long have they been up? Right? Are they doing a quick grab and go? Are they brand new channels that are going to disappear in 2 weeks after, the conversation has died out? Are they established channels? Right? That's another way that you know. And as far as I have noticed for me personally, now it could be just this laptop, or it could be all laptops, in where the screen itself feels like it's a camera. Like there's an internal camera within the screen. I always keep the camera covered with tinfoil and duct tape. And yet, I can feel them trying to suck my life force out through the screen. Like there's an internal camera and I'm being watched constantly, even though the laptop camera is covered. Now, I haven't really researched that. I don't know if there are actual cameras in screens, but that's kind of what it feels like. And I have to be very careful, number one, with things I watch. And basically, I have to try and do my best to not stay right in front of it. Like if I'm listening to something or trying to watch something, I'm doing it from the side. I find myself doing it from the side to keep any kind of energetic harvesting to a bare minimum, which really fucking sucks to have to do that in order to obstruct them from raping me, from raping my energy, or from doing magic on me in real time while I'm watching something. Because if that's true, if that is, like I said, if that is true, they're watching my facial expressions, my eyes in close-up view. Like, do you see what I'm saying? I mean, I really hope that I'm wrong about that. But sometimes it really does feel like they're watching me in real time and trying to pull my energy through the fucking screen. So like I said, maybe it's just this particular laptop. This was given to me. And it was mailed from another state. So it could have been tampered with on the way. Or do they do this with all laptops? I really don't know. So those are just some things to be aware of. And I think it's important that we still do hold compassion and empathy and forgiveness for as much as we can for true benevolent beings that are still in this society. like true humans that haven't been corrupted. It is important to be kind and helpful and compassionate and empathetic towards those that we feel are authentic and true and do not have a, like, they're, you know, they're not corrupted or having a secondary agenda or whatever that you think are, you know. I think it's important. That's why I say I don't want to say across the board with what I mentioned in the beginning, but it is something to be aware of. And every channel that you visit or any video that you click on, it's probably best to take a quick assessment of the individual that you're watching and look for like red flags, things that stand out. If you listen to what they're saying from a vantage point of, like, if you imagine that they're with that group or trying to energetically harvest or what have you, if you're listening to what they're stating and what they're saying from those kinds of vantage points, then you can more easily discern whether or not they have an agenda. Like, if you're trying to hear what they're saying from that vantage point and it's just not, it's not like setting off alarm bells and it's not resonating and it's not, there's like nothing there. Like, you'll intuitively, you know, pick up whether there's something there or there isn't. And then, you know, if you determine that they're authentic and they're not, there's no fuckery and there's no agenda, then, you know, okay, then you know. I'm just saying it's easier to discern sometimes if you're listening to it as if you're watching the other side do their fuckery. And then usually you'll get hits. Like if they're, because they use double speak, demon speak. Like, they're saying one thing which makes sense to the masses in one way, and yet at the same time, what they just said has a double meaning for their own individuals, for their own group. It's things like that. Things that they say that have a double meaning is usually one indication that they're, you know, that they're playing for the other side. So, just again, some things to be aware of as you are moving forward. And I'm still being forced to deal with a lot of fuckery, a lot of nastiness being forced, having to do with encephalographs. And they're still trying to do the other that I mentioned in a couple recordings back. I don't like to actually say it because they've just, I mean, nasty's an understatement for what they're doing, what they're forcing. So I'm doing my best to try and keep it, you know, trying to just do my best to force it out. And hopefully those of you out there are doing your best to try and get to know some of these groups and entities that you have been either praying to for the majority of your time here, or seeking out assistance from those beings. Hopefully you're really trying to determine intent and goals from the beings that you're communicating with, and getting to the truth of things so that you can better discern and so you can better make better choices about how you move forward, how you help yourself, and what things that you need to be doing. Okay, so that's it for I think that's what I wanted to just mention. And do the best that you can. Take care of yourself. And until next time.